Welcome to Enough Said without Dan Barreiro and Justin Gaard tonight. And instead, we have, you see him right there, Pierre Noujaim with Fox 9 Sports.
Good to be
back.
back.
And Jon Krawczynski, the writer, not the actor.
That's
the
right.
senior writer for The Athletic. Welcome, guys.
Let's go. It's
great I can't wait to check those ratings Monday morning.
Oh, it's going to be through the roof.
I know, totally. Just 2 games left for the Timberwolves regular season. They're not a sure thing for the playoffs, so they have to take part in that play-in tournament next week. We don't know who they will be matched up against until Sunday night. The Wolves play the Spurs Saturday night in San Antonio. Perfect show for you two. Pierre loves covering the Wolves for Fox 9. I think you love it.
I do.
And Jon, you cover them for The Athletic. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, Pierre, it's been just an incredible roller coaster all season long, right? There's going to be times during this season where you're ready to write them off completely. They cannot beat some of the teams that are at the lower end of the standings. Then they will find themselves and they'll win at Golden State, they'll win at Sacramento, they'll win at Brooklyn. And so this really is kind of a fitting way for this regular season to end. They have to win at San Antonio, which should be easy, but it's never easy for them with these types of opponents. And then they're going to have to come home and probably win against New Orleans at home at Target Center to stay in that 7-8 game and have a chance for one win and into the playoffs. It's totally wild. It's been completely frustrating and maddening and exciting and all of those things. And here we are going into the final 2 games, and who knows what's going to happen here.
I think you said the perfect word. It's roller coaster, and that's absolutely. It's been a roller coaster of a season for this team. And just what, a week ago or a week and a half ago when they walked off the floor in Sacramento, and you think to yourself after they won their 4th in a row, after 70 games, finally it appears something that has finally clicked with this team, and it looked like they were ready to kind of maybe make an uphill climb and steady push toward the postseason, possibly get into that top 6. And then the second half of that Phoenix game happens. Naz Reid gets hurt, and then everything seems to come crashing down for this team. And I want to go back a couple of weeks ago against the game when Philadelphia was in town. Something still hasn't sat right with me, Jon, after that game. And I remember Chris Finch saying after the game, yeah, you know, Philadelphia, they came in here and they kicked our butts, and they did. But something didn't sit right with me after that game, and it was because this isn't some throwaway time in December or January where it's just one of those nights, and they played it off as if it was just one of those nights. I'm thinking to myself, you're in the middle of the pack. There's no reason for you not to be getting up for any games. There's no excuse to get blown out on your home floor. I don't care if it's with Portland. I don't care if it's with Philadelphia. Something never sat right with me at the end of that game. And I'm thinking to myself, if you can't get yourself up for these kind of games when you're in a dogfight for the postseason with every single team in the Western Conference, something's not right here. And that never sat right with me for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, certainly motivation has been an issue, or finding that urgency in these big moments. And we saw it last Sunday against Portland. I mean, a team that actively wanted to lose that game,
yes,
that was trying everything it could with the lineup that it put out there to lose it. And then you go ahead and lose on your home floor to that team and put yourself in a complete bind. Now they have made their own bed here, Pierre. Like, they could have won 2 or 3 more wins against Charlotte, against Detroit, against all those teams. Then they're in a much better position. They're in the playoffs without having to worry about the play-in.
Could be the 5 seed right now.
Exactly.
30 seconds.
But here they are now, Pierre. It's almost fitting. I think it has to be this way. Everything they've done this year has been the hard path.
Yeah.
Like Rudy Gobert, getting him incorporated, getting everyone healthy, and then you lose Naz Reid. And then just like having these constant letdown games in moments where you cannot afford it.
Enough said.
And now here they are, and they're fighting for their lives, and that's just the way that it's got to be.
At the end of the game against Portland, I was looking on the floor and I see Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, Anthony Edwards, Mike Conley, and Jaden McDaniels on the floor against Shaedon Sharpe and 4 guys.
G-League All-Stars.
Yeah, I hadn't even heard of. And they're not able to execute in the 4th quarter, and it absolutely just blew my mind. I was like, I'm sitting here watching this. I don't know how this is happening.
Well, for the 4th straight year, the Wild clinched a spot in the playoffs. They lost Thursday night to Pittsburgh, and according to The Athletic, your buddy Jon, Michael Russo, Kaprizov will return tomorrow night when the team plays the St. Louis Blues at home. Just 4 games left of their regular season. Pierre?
Well, if memory serves me right, at this point last week, Minnesota sat atop the Central Division, and as of today, they are 2 points back of both Colorado and Dallas in the standings, and Colorado has a game in hand. So, you know, like you said, Lori, playoff spot is clinched. That's all you really need. I don't think the Wild are terribly concerned with what seed they have or where they play or if they have home ice or if they don't. Of course, it would be nice to have home ice advantage, and they're about to get a shot in the arm, like you mentioned, with Kirill Kaprizov coming back. But this team has been a steady train. A disappointing result that we saw the other night in Pittsburgh, and that certainly put them behind the 8 ball when trying to win the Central Division standings. But right now, I'm feeling pretty okay with this team. The one thing I will say about this team right now, John, we got a chance to catch up with Dean Evason earlier in the week. Somebody asked him if it's going to be a rotation at the goaltender position when the postseason starts and if he thinks that would work. And his answer was yes, without hesitation. He believes it can work. Now, Dean Evason has played in and coached in a heck of a lot more hockey games than I'll ever be a part of. But something about that makes me a little bit nervous. In the postseason, we've seen so many guys like Jean-Sebastien Giguère, Dominik Hasek, Patrick Waugh. I know these are bigger names and stuff like that, but I don't recall a time where I saw a goaltender rotation in the postseason work. And Philip Gustafsson, all due respect to Marc-Andre Fleury, who hasn't played poorly by any means, Philip Gustafsson seems to be the guy right now in net, and there's a part of me that gets a little queasy if I hear about something about a goalie rotation when it comes to the postseason.
Well, and Pierre, I think a lot of times that this stuff works itself out over a playoff series as you go on in the playoffs, and someone will rise to the forefront, probably Gustafsson, and just take hold of that position. I think Dean Evason probably wants to say publicly that, yes, they do have a rotation. He's comfortable with it because Marc-Andre Fleury is the veteran, and he, I think, has a lot of respect for what Fleury has done over the course of his career and his ability to step in when need be. They may need him for a game or two in the playoffs, but I do think that they have to just go with what they have. In the best case scenario, as Michael Russo laid out, getting Kaprizov back, even if you're not jockeying necessarily for seeding, but giving him 4 games to get his legs back underneath him so you can hit the playoffs with your best player back in complete game shape. That's going to be the thing that I think really drives this thing for the Minnesota Wild, and they will settle in to a goaltender rotation if need be, or just stick with Gustafsson if he's just playing that well.
I would like to see them get home ice at least for the first round.
That would be nice.
At least for the first round.
That would be nice.
Staying on hockey, the Gopher men's hockey team is moving forward to the Frozen Four title game after defeating Boston University 6-2 in Tampa. Jim Rich is there covering it for us. Minnesota is going after its first national title in 20 years. Saturday night at 7 against Quinnipiac University. They do all the polls there. You just got to say it right way. And Coach Bob Motzko also this week named Division I Coach of the Year, John.
Yeah, it's been just a great hire to get Motzko in here. And I think a lot of people know that I'm a basketball guy and I like to poke fun at the hockey community every once in a while. But I will fully acknowledge this is a huge thing for this community. The sports fan has not had a whole lot to root for around here over the years. To see the Golden Gophers get back to where they should be as on top of the hockey mountain. One of my favorite sports memories growing up here was going to the McGoverns downtown St. Paul when the Gophers played Maine in the national title game 2000-2001. And we didn't even get into the arena, but we were just there soaking up the atmosphere. Thrilling win, and so if the Gophers can pull this off, it's going to be great. I mean, it is the state of hockey, as much as I like to kind of poke fun at it and like to point out that there are more basketball fans than hockey fans in this state. This is still huge. The Gophers should be the Yankees of college hockey. That's the kind of resources that they have. They have the recruiting advantages, all of those things, and so see them where they are right now. This is where they belong.
I watched the game last night, and Lori mentioned Jim Rich, our own Jim Rich, down in Florida.
What a tough assignment for him, by the way.
I tell you, did he take early retirement, Lori? I mean, he's been down there 3 times, I think, in the last month, for goodness sake. But, yeah, I'm sure Jim is enjoying Florida. But I got on the phone with Jim last night after the game, and Jim, the first thing he said to me on the phone was like, boy, this team is really good.
30 seconds.
This team is really, really good. And when you watch this, especially if you take a penalty against this team, you're
over.
Done. You're done. It's so much talent. 2 players up for the Hobie Baker Award. And as you mentioned, Bob Motzko certainly deserving of the Coach of the Year. He's done an absolutely remarkable job here with the University of Minnesota. And I had to crack a little bit of a smile last night because I loved the match. It's old Minnesota versus Boston. Who's better in the United States when it comes to hockey? Who's got the better talent pool? And as we saw last night, Minnesota just a step ahead right now, ahead of those kids from Boston. So a terrific performance. They'll have a chance to win the national title on Saturday night. And I think they're going to get the job done on Saturday night. I think you're going to see the the Gophers crowned national champions when it's all said and done. And who knows if we'll see Jim Rich come back from Florida at all at this point.
I don't know. I talked to him this morning, and he sounds very happy there
I'm sure he's very tan,
but
too.
Hey, if we would have sent you, you wouldn't be on set with us right now.
Well, I can do it from a remote. And I'm a hardworking man.
And then coming up next, we can talk about the NFL draft, which is coming up at the end of this month. Twins home opener being pushed due to the weather. And then we're going to finally put that whole trash-talking controversy to bed with women's basketball. To Enough Said with our pitch hitters, Jon Krawczynski with The Athletic and Pierre with Fox 9 Sports. Thanks for being here tonight, you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Our friends Dan and Justin are spring breaking.
Well, good for them.
Must be rough. Them and Jim Rich, man. Them and Jim Rich.
The Twins home opener, though, got pushed due to the darn weather, although we're supposed to hit like 75 next week.
Wow.
So that'll be sweet. They kicked off the season with some wins. Pitcher Kenta Maeda had a strong return this week since his first start since August of 2021. He was injured. And the new rule changes are tightening up games. The Twins are playing the Astros at home this weekend, Pierre. Yeah,
congratulations. You get the defending champs to open up the home schedule. But, listen, the Twins are off to a very good start, not playing the toughest of opponents down in Kansas City. They did lose the series in Miami, but tough-fought series in Miami against the Marlins. But I think there's a lot of optimism surrounding this team, a cautious optimism, I would say. Pablo Lopez has looked pretty good in his 2 starts with Minnesota since he's come over from the trade from Miami. But I have a little bit of an issue with Minnesota pushing its home opener back to Friday because, A, we saw the St. Paul Saints play their game on Thursday. No problem. Got it. Like, I don't know why we're pushing it a day back. We know how things are in Minnesota in early April.
Bundle up.
I mean, listen, but I was there. Were you not there? I don't know if you were there, John, but I was there 5 years ago when it was one of the coldest opening day games on record here in Minnesota when it was, 22, 29, something like that. Could have played the game yesterday. I'm not going to get all mad about it because the weather's much nicer today, so congratulations to the fans. I think you're the big winners here, having to go to the ballpark on a nicer day than it was yesterday. But this team, don't really know what to make of this team just yet. We're only, 6 games into the season, but so far so good.
Yeah, I think that just seeing some of the starting pitching come together, Pablo Lopez looks great, Maeda looks great, Sonny Gray's had a good outing. And so I think that's going to be the key, is what are they going to get 1 through 5 in their starting pitching to see if that they can just have the consistent winning streaks that they could never have last season. And it sounds too easy to say that, but when you have a rotation that you can rely on, I think the bats are going to take care of themselves. I think that their offense is good enough, especially if you can keep Byron Buxton healthy, shore up the leadoff spot just a little bit. They're going to be okay from an offensive standpoint. It's what can these pitchers do to prevent them from going to that bullpen in the 4th inning, in the 5th inning every single game. See if they can get a little bit deeper into it, set things up a little bit more, and make these games just a little bit more winnable. The bottom line, though, Pierre, right now is these games are going by like that. We're talking 2.5 hours, 3 hours, even less sometimes with that pitch clock. The best thing baseball has done forever is get these things going here. I love it.
I'm not gonna shy away from the fact that I've been on record saying, I don't care how long the games are. I've got nothing better to do with my time. What am I gonna do with an extra half hour? I got to go home and do chores and stuff. I want to watch another 30 minutes of baseball. But yes, the pace has picked up.
Real quick,
I do want to say the shift, getting rid of the shift, is my favorite.
Huge.
Put the ball in play. Once the ball's in play, it makes the game much more exciting. That, to me, is my favorite rule
Absolutely.
change.
Enough said. And we are just a few weeks away. A lot going on in April, right?
Yes.
End of the Wolves,
busy
end
month.
of the Wild, and now NFL draft coming up. The Vikings have the 23rd overall pick. The draft takes place, again, like I said, at the end of this month in Kansas City. Are you ready to give a few mock draft ideas, John?
I'm just ready to be done with the mock drafts entirely. Can we just get to the real thing and actually see what's going to happen here? But it's going to be super interesting. The Vikings only have 5 picks in this draft. That, to me, says if there is a scenario that is more likely, I know that all the fans, they want to trade up, they want to get a quarterback, that's the sexy pick, and go after someone like that and really think about the Vikings having a quarterback of the future for 5 or 6 or 8 years going down the road. I don't think that's going to be the reality unless someone slides down to them. I think the much greater possibility here is that Kwesi Adofo-Mensah trades down from 23, accumulates a few more picks. That's not going to be fun on the first night of the draft when all the fans are having beers and want to really break down who's at 23. But the Vikings need players. They need talent. They need to upgrade their roster and their depth, and you do that by accumulating more picks. Maybe they will stay at 23. Maybe they take a receiver. Maybe they take a cornerback there. But I think that you could see them slide back, accumulate more draft picks, and then try and take advantage of the depth in this draft rather than kind of going up and trying to get someone if an Anthony Richardson starts falling, a Will Levis starts falling, and go about it that way.
I couldn't agree more. Actually, if I'm a Vikings fan right now, and yes, I understand the excitement that builds, especially when you're talking about the first round of the draft. If the Vikings are still sitting there at 23, I would be furious. Trade back, get more picks. This team is not a multiplayer draft, rebuild. This is not the way this team is built right now in terms of the talent that they have on their roster. This is just a few guys here and a few guys there. So, if you can fill the cracks, and you do that by adding more draft capital, they're not a first-round home run talent away. They're just a little bit of pieces here and there, on both sides of the football, that I want to have more options. I want to have more lottery tickets. I don't need the superstar, hyped-up draft, kid coming into the draft. Jalen Carter, for example, who I know is probably going to fall a little bit due to the off-field concerns. But this team, if they, like I said, if they stay at 23. I'm not going to be terribly wild about that if I'm the Vikings. I mean, maybe they don't find a trade partner. It's easier said than done, of course. But we saw Kwesi Adofo-Mensah trade down last year in the first round. I know a lot of people got on him for trading with the divisional opponent, and I know a lot of people didn't like that. But at the same time, he shows that he's not afraid to make deals when you got to make deals. And I think 23 is going to be an opportunity for him.
He's got to hit it, though. This last draft was not very good. He's got to hit it this time.
Yes, he does. I agree.
Well, the trash-talking controversy with the women's college basketball teams is finally coming to an end. At least I think it is. I feel like everyone's moving on. Iowa player Caitlin Clark did the "you can't see me," the John Cena thing. Am I doing it right?
That's right.
Gesture to a player earlier in the tourney. Yes. And then LSU star Angel Reese did a similar gesture to Clark in the championship game and the ring thing. Reese took heat for it on social media. Clark has defended Reese. Can we just be done with this, Pierre?
I can't tell you how much I don't care about this story, and I'm only getting more and more agitated as people try to force me to care about this story. The only thing I care about this story is the fact that professional wrestling is getting its pub, as it should, with John Cena's hand gesture of "you can't see me." Here's my issue with this whole story, okay? As somebody who has grown up playing sports, been involved in sports, and been around sports my entire life, I like a little trash talk. A little trash talk, I think, is good.
Mix it up.
Yeah, I think there's a certain line that shouldn't be crossed. I didn't see a line that was crossed here on either end. Now, granted, if you put the two pieces of video next to each other, I'm sorry, they're not the same. They're not the same. I thought Reese was a little bit more, embellished, with the whole thing, but it didn't bother me. And then, of course, you have to talk about, okay, what's too much for me might not be too much for somebody else, and we can never come to agreement on what is and what is too much, a lack of sportsmanship, if you will. But I had no problem with what happened on either side of this. And once again, I have to reiterate, I don't care about this. Stop making me care about this story, please.
Well, and here's the other thing that I think happens sometimes with these debates that come out is that maybe one or two people had a problem with it on Twitter and made a comment on it.
Yes.
Why does that have to dictate an entire situation and an entire conversation about it? Caitlin Clark came out and said she wasn't bothered by it.
Nope.
Reese kind of handled it exactly how she would. Just like, we don't have to give people the oxygen to say it. They can say what we want, but we don't have to respond to every bit of it. I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was some big scandal, and I really didn't want it to take away from what was an unbelievable women's basketball tournament.
If you don't know the hand gesture in front of the face, you have no seat at the conversation table. If you don't know what this is or who does it, I don't want to hear from you.
I'm doing it in the lightning round next to you.
No, I was just going to say, you better not do it to me. Time for the lightning round. We're going to try to fit in a bunch of things in just a few minutes. First up, the 2023 Masters Tournament is underway at Augusta National Golf Club in Georgia. The world's top golfers trying to win that green jacket. Pierre?
Yeah, well, as somebody who never watches golf, doesn't care about the Masters. Doesn't care about the Masters. And I know, like, this is so funny because I have this debate with my friends every single year. They're like, oh, it's final round, it's Sunday, it's Easter Sunday, we got to watch, the Masters and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. Don't care. Don't care at all whatsoever. If Tiger's on the green and he's about to putt for another green jacket, you know what I'll be watching? Something else entirely. You know why? Because golf is boring, that's why.
I always watched it with my grandpa growing up on Easter Sunday. I remember that.
Well,
very sweet story.
Yeah. Renovations are happening at Mariucci Arena, where the men's hockey team plays, the one who is in Tampa right now.
That's right.
The rink will be adding around 300 more seats. Construction set to be finished this fall, John.
Shrinking the size of the rink from Olympic size to NHL size, which I always found weird. Like, why can one hockey team skate on an entirely different size rink than another one?
Yeah.
But that's the way it's been. Obviously, this is much more geared toward money and filling seats. The cool thing about it is they actually are going to be able to sell those seats now. If you watched college hockey games, especially in Big Ten play previous years, got pretty empty in there, but it's picked back up. They're filling that building up again, and so we'll see if this helps the style of play a little bit as too by shrinking it up and getting a little more hits, a little more up and down.
Hey, lower the ticket prices, by the way.
Good luck with that. Yeah, let me know how that works.
Let me get in there for cheap.
Yeah.
Talking about tickets, due to popular demand, a second Queen and Adam Lambert show went on sale today. The iconic band now performing on October 27th and 28th at Xcel Energy Center. Your favorite Queen song, I would like to know.
Man, that's a tough one for me. I can't remember the title of the song. What's 200 Degrees? That's why they call me Mr. Fahrenheit. What's the name of that song? Don't Stop Me. Don't Stop Me Now. Yeah, whatever the name of that song is. That's my favorite song.
Big We Will Rock You Guy. Big We Will Rock You Guy.
Okay.
Stadiums, growing up with it. Best. I remember watching the Road Warriors highlights pro wrestling, going for it.
Yes.
Another one, Bites the Dust.
Yes. So yeah, the Mighty Ducks. Yeah.
We Are the Champions.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yes.
We're the Champions. Still stand strong.
And next up, my girl J-Lo. Whenever I can get her in the show, announced. Well, here's the thing though. She's under fire. She announced a new alcohol brand called DeLola. 3 different kinds of spritzes. Pierre's kind of favorite drink. But she said in the past she doesn't drink. So social media folks are going after her. Do you think celebrities should be able to pitch products they might not even use?
I feel like it looks a little bit disingenuous. I think if you're putting your name behind something, I would want to know that you actually do care about it. This doesn't bother me as much. It's just another way for her to make money. And I don't, besmirch people for trying to make money. But it does feel a little disingenuous, though, John. I feel like if you're going to put your name behind a product.
If you don't know by now that most of this is just for the money and not anything else, you think LeBron James drives a Kia every day? I don't think so. So just kind of take it and roll with it is what I do with it.
Well, and unfortunately, I have bad news. For some people, moderate drinking isn't good for your health.
See, I don't agree. Like, they had studies for years that said it was good. So I'm gonna lean on that a little bit more.
They took it all and put it together, and in a new study published in JAMA this week shows even 1 or 2 will not help you live longer. Like I said, previous research thought that maybe a glass of wine every now and then would,
How long do people want to live? That's my question.
I'd like to go to 85.
Oh, no way.
Goal.
Oh, no way. There's no way I make it to 85, and I hope I don't make it to 85.
The red wine is getting me to 85. I will tell you that. More than anything else, that's for sure.
The more and more I hear these surveys, people think, oh, I'm an expert. Do this, do that. No, leave me alone.
Drink coffee, don't drink coffee.
Yeah,
drink
whatever.
Wine, don't drink wine.
I'm drinking one.